Welcome to the Candidate Forum for the Warrenville Fire Protection District, sponsored by the League of Women Voters. My name is Barb Lymans, a member of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton, and your moderator this evening. I live in West Chicago, so I will not be voting for any of the candidates participating in the forums this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties for any office. The League's purpose is to promote civic responsibility through the informed and active participation of citizens in government and civil civic discourse. Providing forums is a major mission of the League of Women Voters, so citizens can become better informed about the issues facing their community and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. The format tonight is a candidate forum and not a debate. Candidates are expected to accurately represent the facts, and their responses reflect their own views and opinions. The candidates have agreed to abide by the rules set forth by this forum. All candidates attending tonight have signed and returned the ground rules by the deadline established. These rules specify the format, time limits, broadcasting of the forum, and other rules related to the conduct of this evening. The candidates will begin in alphabetical order with their 1-minute opening statements. They will then alternate in order in which answer questions for 1 minute. After the question portion of the forum, each candidate will give a 1-minute closing statement. Members of the League will be acting as timers, and I will enforce the time limits. Should a candidate exceed the time limit, I'll ask them to finish their sentence and move on to the next candidate. Candidates, you will see the timers holding up placards for you at the back of the room to give you warnings of 30 seconds and 15 seconds and then stop. Okay. We have received a multitude of questions from the community in advance of tonight's forum. To ensure that questions represent a balance of topics, a panel of experienced members of the League of Women Voters have reviewed the questions submitted for appropriateness, applicable to all candidates, and to avoid duplication. We will do our best to read each question asked within the time frame allotted for tonight's forum. We are grateful to you in the community who have taken the time to learn more about the candidates before casting your vote by attending or watching candidate forums. For those in attendance this evening, we ask that you listen attentively, turn off your phones and electronic devices, avoid commenting or disrupting others during the forum, and refrain from applause until at the end of the forum. And finally, I want to say how appreciative we are of the candidates who are not only willing to serve in office, but who have agreed to be here tonight to share their ideas and goals. So thank you. So let's get started and hear from the Fire District Trustee candidates, Jeff Karstens and Sherry Potter. Steve Pishka did not respond to the invitation to participate tonight. So Candidate Karstens, you have 1 minute for your opening statement.
First, can you all hear me? Okay. Thank you for having us. Good to see friends and relatives, neighbors, and unfortunately some customers for the body shop. But basically, I was born in Warrenville, went to Woodland School. Vivian was my first grade teacher. I went to Bauer Junior High, went to Wheaton, Warrenville, put myself through COD, got into North Central and got out of there and somehow got into law school. I really didn't love that, so I treated it like a business degree, passed the bar, walked away, and I ended up buying the shop that I put myself through school in. I was always a big supporter for the fire department, so they were looking for trustees, and I threw my name in the hat and ended up 8 years ago being on the board of trustees. I've been secretary for most of it, and gonna go for it again.
Great, thank
God,
you.
that was perfect. You just held up the sign. My name is Sherry Potter. I'm honored to be a candidate for the Board of Trustees. I was not born in Warrenville, but I have proudly called Warrenville my home for 17 years. If you were here for the Park District candidates, you know I work for the Park District because I was given a little shout out there. I have worked there for a little over 11 years. I am the marketing and community engagement manager there. I love Warrenville. I love everything about Warrenville, and I'm just looking to serve the community.
Thank you. The first question will begin with you, Candidate Potter.
Awesome.
It's a long one, so I'll read it twice.
Great.
What are the two biggest challenges facing the fire service as a whole today? Second part, what are the two biggest challenges facing the Warrenville Fire District in particular? As a trustee, how would you solve these challenges?
Well,
And
you're gonna
I'm
start
going to
with
give you
that.
more than 1 minute. How's that?
You're gonna start big, right? Read the first part again. You're gonna have to read it in phases.
Sure, no problem. What are the two biggest challenges facing the fire service as a
In
whole
general.
today? In general.
And okay.
And then what are the two biggest challenges facing the Warrenville Fire District in particular? As trustee, how would you solve these challenges? And let's give you 2.5 minutes for this.
I don't know if I'll need that long. I would say staffing and funding are probably the issues as for fire service as a whole. And that doesn't, I believe, goes for Warrenville as well. Recruiting and keeping staff is always an ongoing issue, as well as funding. How would I solve those issues? I think engagement with staff and keeping staff morale up and looking for creative ways to increase revenue, whether that's through grants, fundraising, or any other type.
Thank you.
Did that answer all of it?
You
That was
did
a big
it.
question.
Candidate Carstens.
Okay, well, definitely recruitment and retention is one of the biggest problems that every single fire district, fire department in the country is having right now. Those are problems that everyone's facing, and everybody is looking for any kind of solution to those things. And everybody's being very creative about that. Funding is also always an issue at the fire district. I can bore the living daylights out of you guys by talking about PTEL and tax caps, but one of the things that I'm very proud of our board that we did in the last few years was we put together a financial analysis and started recognizing that historically, on average, the levy goes up about 2.5%, meaning we get a little bit more money every year just because of CPI. And that's a big, long conversation, but unfortunately, our expenses go up by about 3.5%. So eventually those two lines cross. And at that point, every single district that's subject to PTEL and tax caps is facing a funding crisis. What we've done is really try to forecast our expenses so that we know where we're actually at. We know what we can do and what we might not be able to do, what we might have to push back. It's a wonderful tool, and one of the reasons that I'm really proud of it is because it took all of us. That was not just a single person, or it started out with an argument, but then the argument went to other people. But we finally got the accountants in, and we created our own financial analysis. And when we asked them, what are other districts doing? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, what are other districts? I mean, we didn't invent the wheel, but apparently we did, because they said nobody else that they have is doing that. There's one other district that's starting to try, but it's really just a fantastic tool. But really we argue all about, there's a bunch of variables in it, but we get together and argue about the variables, but all it's doing is trying to guess. We're going to give ourselves a gray area, and we're hoping we can stay in the middle of that. So funding is really a huge, huge issue. Just really watching every penny. We've got an amazing staff going after every grant, and it's at every level. We've had firefighters get grants for us. It's wonderful. We just had another big one that we got, but I'm out of time.
Thank you.
He said stop.
We'll just kind of keep on this same vein then. And what do you think the fire district should do differently now to ensure they are financially solvent in the future?
I'm first? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's go downstate and change PTEL law. But basically, that's how they calculate your taxes. And it's generically called a tax cap. But really what it does is it takes a little bit out of us every year. And there's really not much we can do about that other than what we're doing right now is trying to find alternate sources. Actually, the ambulance billing has been amazing, contributing. We've done a lot of work with the grant front. The funding is going forward. Everybody is trying to put their heads together to try and figure out any other way that we can get anything. And we've done some really cool stuff too, just teaming up, trying to use the money that we've got as effectively as possible. When Batavia Road was being redone, we were trying to replace our entire front apron. Well, we found out that had we done that a year earlier, we would have literally had to lose 2/3 of it, and they would have replaced it again. So we held off, and we replaced the remaining third, and that's what the taxpayers got to pay for, because you were already paying for the road. So the fire department came out really well on that, and lots of those kinds of things.
Candidate Potter, your thoughts. What do you think the fire district should do differently now to ensure they are financially solvent in the future?
I don't know necessarily that they need to do anything differently than they're doing. I think they're financially responsible now. Again, getting creative with funding, whether that be grants or partnering with other community organizations. I know through the park district, like you were talking about paving, we partnered with the city and did our parking lot at the same time they did, and we've all saved money. So there's maybe certain ways that we could save money that way.
Great. Candidate Potter, again, I'm afraid you keep getting the long questions first. Some fire departments are organized as city departments, such as Naperville Fire Department, and some are organized as fire protection districts. What do you see as the pros and cons of each type? And which organization do you think is most suited to Warrenville and why? One more time?
Nope, I'm good. Nope, I'm good. Because we deal with this in the park district world too. So I think the strength in being your own taxing body is that you're self-governed. You get to determine how to spend those tax dollars yourself. Of course, the weakness then is in funding because the city gets more tax revenue. But you control your own future. I personally like having all taxing districts separate. I think you should explore all options just to see what's more beneficial. But just from experience that I have in the park district world, and things that I know other agencies fight to get their level of funding that they need from the city, that it's not as easy as just being under the city and you're all going to get more money because they have determined where that money is already going. So my vote would be to stay separate.
Candidate Kirstens.
Well, I actually fairly well agree with that. One of the reasons that we're all here tonight is because we're an elected board of trustees, and that really is due in no small part. She led the charge, was Kate Perkins, who is our president. And we were looking at a lot of pressure from outside to consolidate all of these units of government. And the people in Warrenville started feeling like we were going to lose control of our own department, our own district. So they knocked on doors. We held a referendum, and we went from an appointed board to an elected board. And the first thing we did was go from 3 elected to 5 because that helped us with some of the legalities of it. But having our own district and running it ourselves is really what the residents told us that they want. So that's the direction that we're going at this point.
Thanks. Finances have caused a question from the audience tonight, of course, and it is this. One policy of PTEL, tax caps, is to have communities go to referendum if increased tax dollars are needed. Do you foresee having to go to referendum for a tax rate increase in the near future? And we'll begin with candidate Kirstens.
In the near future, hopefully not. But the consequence of PTEL is that virtually every district that is subject to PTEL has to go for referendum eventually. There's almost no way around it. And all we can really do is push that back as far as we possibly can. And every single person on the staff works every day trying to make sure that we're using every dollar as wisely as we can so that we don't have to go for referendum. But eventually, it's just something that's going to have to happen. And I hate saying that. I am a fiscal conservative. I got on the board thinking, why can't we keep exactly this amount of money and run exactly this in perpetuity? And the fact is that the law makes it so that we lose ground every year, and eventually we have to adjust that. I think the staff has done an amazing job at keeping us. We've had a great couple of years, and we're doing better than we had predicted.
Candidate Potter, your thoughts?
Well, the revenue is obviously restricted through PTEL, which is going to reduce funding eventually. I've looked at the budget documents. Do I see it in the near future? No. I think they're in a really good position. But like Jeff said, eventually you're going to have to cross that line when you get to it, unfortunately.
Thank you. Moving on to a different topic. What 2 or 3 things would you like to accomplish if you're elected? Candidate Potter.
I think the first thing would be making sure that staff had all of the resources that they needed available to them to do the job that they're hired to do. The other thing that I would like to do is, I know they just went through their strategic plan process, is to help them execute those goals, especially community relations with the connections that I have, career development, leadership, and staffing, and then possibly pursuing alternate funding resources. Those would be the 3.
Candidate Karstens.
2 or 3 things. One, I'm going to try and continue the path that we've been on because I'm really satisfied with progress that we've made. But one of the big things is I want to try to continue to be proactive instead of reactive. When we first got on the board, we tended to be getting hit from all directions, and we've very slowly over the years built up and solved problems and moved past things where we can now be more proactive in how we're making our decisions. I want to continue to be very open and transparent so that we have good government for everyone. You're all welcome to come to our open meetings. They're exciting.
Are they this big?
They are almost always this big. So, but other than that, I mean, seriously, when I first ran, I mean, I was a rookie, and I think my slogan still stands. I'm going to try to not suck. I mean, it's just, there's a lot to it. So.
You're the Cubs.
Yeah.
I'm sure your meetings are on fire, right? Oh, I know. I couldn't resist.
You can't
I'm
boo
sorry.
her.
Candidate Karstens, what unique skills and talents will you bring to the Board of Trustees for the Fire District?
Hopefully just the ability to work with a team and really, even when we disagree, it's respectful. I really admire the team that we've managed to put together as trustees, but one of our biggest jobs is we hire a chief, and then we stay out of his way. I mean, we got one of the great chiefs in the entire region. In fact, I think he was Fire Chief of the Year this year. So we literally want to just keep on these kinds of courses, and beyond that, I don't know.
Candidate Potter.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
What
Got me
unique
all
skills?
sideways.
What unique skills and talents will you bring to the Board of Trustees of the Fire District?
Well, while I don't have a fire background, that's self-admitted, I think a fresh perspective and a strong commitment to the community. Through my job, I've worked on many professional boards. I think I've served on maybe 5 boards, 3 committees. So collaboration, I think I have a strong desire to collaborate, listen, and just make informed decisions.
Great, thank you. Candidate Potter, what are your thoughts on the 2 TIF districts in the city of Warrenville, and how will they affect the fire district?
I thought we weren't talking about TIF districts.
Yeah, hi, Vivian.
TIF districts. I know the fire department does not receive funds through the TIF district, and there's no possibility at this time, I don't believe, to go after additional funding unless you want to approach that avenue. But it does increase the number of calls that they get because of the people in that area. So yes, they are a burden on the fire district. It's about as much as I know about them.
Candidate,
So enlighten me, Jeff.
Candidate Karstens.
I actually promised Vivian I wouldn't talk about TIFs tonight.
But then she asked.
And she put it in writing. Okay. Well, I don't necessarily like the way the TIF law is written with regard to the fire protection district. It's really difficult for us to get the monies, and the city doesn't have to give us the money. They've been very good to us. I mean, we've got a great relationship with the city. Would we like them to give us more money? We would love them to give us more money. But the short version is that we really kind of hold our breath until those TIFs expire, because we really are looking for every penny that we can find. And the reality is that TIF 3 and 4 took about $350,000 out of us last year. So it's money that we really could use. Now the city's using it to redevelop, and that at the end of the TIF we're supposed to get the redevelopment increase in our levy, but it's money we need. I mean, our window, we're looking at this. We are looking there, but right here is really important right now. So the TIF stuff is kind of a sore spot. It just isn't necessarily fair to the district.
Well, you'll have a chance to submit a question about it to the next forum.
Ooh.
I'll see if Vivian will let me.
Maybe she will.
Candidate Karstens, you mentioned that communities throughout the county are having to use creative methods to recruit staff. What creative ideas can you suggest that would set the Warrenville Fire District apart to attract recruits?
Oh man, there's a $1 million question right there. Everyone, and I mean great minds, are trying to find any way to bring anybody they can. And a lot of what we've got in Warrenville that's unique is we come from a POC background, and we really, the fire protection district has a presence in so many households through that, and really gains a lot of young people that we might not otherwise get. And it's such a great part of our system, and it's changed so much. 30 years ago, we had local businesses that the owner was on the department, the workers were on the department, and when the bell rang, they could all come. Now that dynamic has changed. We don't have those local businesses, we don't have those local staff, so we're really struggling, and really we've had to transition away from a full POC to very much a full-time professional fire department. We've still got the POC program, and it's wonderful, but
For those of us, just a little additional, what is POC?
paid on call. It's basically, we used to be a volunteer. I mean, we used to give them $4. Now I think we're up to 25. Used to be.
That's
That was
amazing.
a long time ago. But I think we're up to 25 now.
Okay. Candidate Potter, what creative ideas do you have for recruitment?
I think honestly, if I were to recruit people for this fire department, it would be focusing on the culture and the leadership, whether that be through video or storytelling. I think that the culture here at this fire district and the leadership could definitely draw people in. It's a special thing they got here.
Thank you. Along that line of personnel and staff, how can the district better support firefighters, paramedics, and emergency personnel? Candidate Potter, we'll start with you.
I think if they don't already, I think mental health initiatives would be extremely important in this line of work. Making sure that everybody's being taken care of in that aspect would be extremely important for that.
Candidate Karstens?
Repeat the question again.
How can the district better support firefighters, paramedics, and other emergency personnel?
Honestly, we're doing everything that we can see to do right now. Yes, mental health is definitely one of the issues, and very cognizant of these things. And actually, it's kind of nice that the fire service in general has started to really pick that up as a real thing that is not, it's not so verboten anymore. You can say, hey, I'm struggling, and you can get help. And we've definitely got programs that are available. So we don't have the tough guy anymore where, it's just macho and you just drink it off, but 30, 40 years ago, that's how a lot of them dealt with it. So right now, I think the fire service in general is actually addressing that much, much better.
Great. Thank you. Several questions have been touched on the fact of new development. So my question for you both is, what challenges does the new development have for the Warrenville Fire District? And Kenneth Karstens, we'll start with you.
Well, new development, always, good and bad. Good, yes, new development. The downside is we got to make sure that we've got the ability to protect those new areas. So we're constantly working to make sure that anything that's on the horizon is being accounted for, and that we can make sure that we've got what we need to be able to provide the services we're providing.
Candidate Potter?
I would echo what Jeff said, and I think just making sure that we're adequately staffed in order to service any new developments that are being brought up in Warrenville.
One last question. How should the fire district collaborate with local schools, businesses, and community organizations to enhance public safety? Candidate Potter?
I think they currently do an amazing job collaborating with the school district. I know I've seen them at the schools doing education. I've seen them do block parties, birthday party drive-bys. We partner with them on numerous things. They've had staff at our events. We have a new event that we partnered with them, a little junior road rally with the fire department and the police department. So I think they do an amazing job, their annual open house, all of those things. I think they have great community engagement.
Thank you. Candidate Karstens?
I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I mean, I think they really do a wonderful job. They get out there and they get their word out, and
Okay. Well, I lied. I'm going to give you one more question.
oh, fine.
She wants to ask you
fine.
about some more taxes.
Because you're doing so well.
Oh,
I'm gonna give you
sure.
one more. So you were thinking about coming tonight, and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, what questions are going to be asked? So my question to you now is, what's the one question that I didn't ask that you were ready for and wish to answer now? Candidate Karstens.
Oh, fine. I'll be first. I think I'd really like to just re-stress what a great place this is. It's unique. The Warrenville Fire Protection District, the group of people that we've had for my entire life. I grew up and everybody's dad had a blue light on their dash. And when the beepers went off, we'd be at a party and 8 beepers would go off, everybody went, every car was gone. But when I really thought about it, and I was talking about it with a couple of the other trustees, there's a thing, they call it the third place. And everybody's kind of got a third place. You've got your family, you've got your job. What's your third place? And for a lot of our fire personnel, this is their third place. This is as much their job, as much their family. They're that invested in it. And it's a wonderful thing to have that kind of a third place and have it be ours. So.
Nice. Candidate Potter, what was your one thing I didn't ask you that you wish I had asked you?
I thought like the very first question you were going to ask was, what is the role of a trustee? I don't know why I thought you would ask that, but you didn't ask that. I and I guess if I were to answer it, represent the public, make sound decisions, and make sure the chief and the staff have everything they need to do their job adequately.
Excellent. Well, please join me in thanking the candidates for being here tonight.
Thank you. Outstanding.
Oops.
Oh, wait, we don't get to go? We don't get to go yet.
You want us
So-
to do a closing statement?
Yes.
Dawn?
Oh, closing
So we're going to give you one minute or so to give your closing statement.
In a hurry to get out of
And
here.
candidate Carson, we're going to start with you.
Well, maybe I'll ask you the question, what is a trustee? I mean, one of the big things we do is we hire chief and assistant chief. But really, I brought this book just to show you. This is the old edition. This is the trustee handbook. And this is our attorney wrote this. Sean has a great sense of humor with what a handbook would be. But when he started 20 years ago, to be fair, it was 19 pages, he said. But this is really what the trustees are responsible for. And there's a lot of stuff in there. And a lot of stuff can go sideways. But I want to really try not to suck. I go by the book. I mean, really, there's a lot that we have to do and a lot of people don't understand what it might be, but it's very enjoyable, and it's an honor to work with an incredible group of people. So anything I can do to help, I'm up for it.
Candidate Potter, your 1 minute closing statement.
I would just say that I believe our firefighters and first responders deserve the very best that us taxpayers can give them. I would promise to be fiscally responsible, transparent, engage with the public, and hope that to make the fire department operate efficiently and effectively.
Thank you. If you have any additional questions, I'm sure the candidates will make themselves available to you to answer them. So, our democracy thrives when all of us are engaged. Attending or watching a candidate forum is an excellent way to be empowered to join discussions on local issues and make your voice heard on Election Day. We hope that each and every one of you will vote and inspire your friends and neighbors to do the same. Information on how and when to vote can be found on the website vote411.org or the Wheaton League of Women Voters website. So thank you all for being here, and best wishes to both of you on the campaign trail. Thank you.
Thank you.